to our February meeting. I'm hoping that you all are seeing my screen with the official statewide collaborative slide. What we are doing, since we are having to stagger the meetings a little bit in order to make everybody's schedules work, what we're going to do is try very hard to make sure everybody has access to everything. So we're going to go alternate between Thursday and Friday meetings and record them all and have them available. So that's the plan. So before we get started, let's do some introductions to see who is here. As I mentioned, here at COA, I'm here. We also have the lovely Cheryl Wakefield, who is once again taking notes for us. Say hello to the gang.
Hello, gang.
That's Cheryl. And also here in the office is Joni Saunders. Say hi.
Hello.
And Brendan, are you there too? She's on mute. And that's Brendan, Brendan Page. And so let me see. Who else is on the line? It looks like we have Flora.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi there.
Hi, good morning.
And Flora is with CDPHE. Kathy Noel, are you there? With Kaiser Permanente?
I'm not sure if Kathy's there, but this is Rebecca, so somebody's here from Kaiser.
Great. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning.
Let me see. Lindsay, we know, is here, Black Welder.
Hello, everyone.
And let's see, Monica Wolf.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi.
And Samantha Decker with Tri-County.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good, good. And who else do we have on the line?
It's Connie Young with the Department of Human Services.
Hi, Connie. I apologize. I don't see you on my list. You must be using the audio on the...
Yeah, that's what I'm
okay,
doing.
Great. That's why I didn't see your name. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yep, you got Sue Connery from Grand Junction.
Hi, Sue.
Hello.
This is Hilltop.
Mace County Physicians IPA.
I'm sorry?
Brittany with Mace County Physicians IPA.
Hi, Brittany.
Hello.
Anybody else with us?
This is Dawn James with Kit Carson County.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi.
I can hardly hear you.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Just scream if you need us.
Okay.
So what we will try and do is, anybody else that we missed before I move on? Okay. So, so we weren't all looking at a blank screen. We went ahead and put our agenda on a PowerPoint just to give us all something to look at. And this will also give us something to post so that the folks that aren't with us on the call today that want to be able to follow up will be able to see pretty pictures as well. So that's our plan. And but our agenda is pretty much our standard agenda. I'm going to leave everybody unmuted. But if you are all sharing colds like we are and you feel a coughing fit or a sneezing fit come on, if you would do us a favor and mute your line, that would be greatly appreciated. And but we will try and keep things open, so if anybody has any questions or anything, we won't have to worry about you raising your hand. So this is our agenda. First thing on the agenda is the regular update. So these are the folks that we have received the 2014 MOUs from. And these are the MOUs that are the non-financial agreements that you want to participate in the statewide CDSMP collaborative. And so these are the folks that we have received the signed ones from, and you should have received back your countersigned version. And I know Wells County is not on the call today, but theirs is definitely in progress. And I know Kaiser Permanente is working with COA on an agreement between Kaiser and COA, so we'll be kind of acting on behalf of Kaiser. So we're not needing theirs, but the rest of you all that are on the phone, especially if you're going to be participating with year 2 of the grant with Connie, then we need to have you complete that MOU. And so, Lindsay, do you want to say anything about that?
Sure. So just a clarification, this is not the same MOU that you would have from me. So the MOU that Lindsay Kikoa is referring to is the MOU for the statewide collaborative. And then I also have received an MOU from most people. There's a few that I'm missing, but the MOU is signed with Central Colorado AHEC, and that MOU is for the reimbursement. So as it lists in your MOU with Central Colorado AHEC, one of the things is that you have to sign the CDSMP collaborative MOU. So that's something that we'll want to make sure that is signed before I can provide any sort of participant reimbursement to your organization.
Okay. And does anybody need another copy of that? Because Lindsay or I can send it out to you.
This is Dawn and Kit Carson. I guess I'm confused about that. So, yeah, send me another copy. I probably have it here, but
Okay.
I never
send
read
you one.
Okay, great.
I'll send that to you right now, Dawn.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. My second update is just regarding the classes that we have posted on selfmanagementcolorado.org. As you know, that is the collaborative website, and the idea is that all of our classes, as we set them, as soon as we set them, we put them into the computer. That's one of the things Cheryl does for us, and then we have them so that when we're talking with the different RICOs or as we're talking with other partners, we can refer them to that class listing and they can see what's going on around the state, and it helps us be able to talk about what's going on in all of the programs. So in order for us to post the classes, we need to be able to know and you guys have been great about sending us class listings. And as you know, that's one of the things that Lindsay Blackwelder's asked for as you're doing your MOUs for reimbursement through the grant. But in order for us to post the class on the website, we need to have the exact start date and the exact start time and where the class location is. So we aren't putting them up with the to be announced because that makes it very hard. You know, we can't put people in classes with a to be announced. So what we need is, if you could check out the website, if you see that your classes that you sent in aren't there, it's because we're missing a time or a date. So we have them all. Cheryl's got a great file of them ready to go as soon as we have all of the rest of the information. And I'm not sure, I'm thinking that most of you on the call have already sent through everything, and I'm not sure any of you that are on the call today, do we have any on hold. But just as a reminder, if you would double check and make sure everything that you think should be there is there, I would appreciate it. And because sometimes what happens is they go to Lindsay Blackwelder instead of Lindsay at COA, so we're trying to make sure we get all of those in one place, but just to double check and make sure we have you accurately represented. What's also important is if the class times change, or if the location changes, or you're starting a week later, if you would let us know that as well. And then when you do have leaders set, if you will let us know who's leading the classes, we can track that as well. Any questions about that?
Lindsay?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Monica. So can we email? We can either call or email. Is it you, or do we need to send the information to someone else?
You can send it to me.
Okay.
That would be great.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, update number 3. This is the schedule of meetings. This is the newly agreed upon alternating of Fridays and Thursday meetings. All of them are 9 to 10:30. And as you can see, there we are, February. So our next meeting will be March, and it will be a Thursday in March. So we can, part of what we will be doing is printing out information from this webinar as part of the minutes. So the minutes will get posted as well. But this way we'll have it for the folks that aren't with us today. So that's it for the whole year. And one of the things that we want to talk about a little later is, do we want to look at an in-person meeting? We had talked about April, and Friday, April 4th, would be our April meeting. So hopefully we can come back to that because I do want to talk a little bit more about that. But in the way of updates, look at Flora. You have your official own page here. So there you go. I wanted to give Flora an update, or have Flora give us an update, I should say, on what's happening with data entry, data submission, anything CDPHE data related. And so the one thing I did remember from last time is I just wanted to remind everybody about Laura Scott's email address. Although we all call her Lori, Laura Scott is her email address. So I just wanted to put that up as a reminder. And Flora, I will turn it over to you for updates.
Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you for my own page.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate you making the distinction for Laura's email and letting everyone see that to make sure that things are getting encrypted when it is sent over. So thank you all for being mindful of that and doing that. I check in with her monthly, and she said that the data is going well. It seems that we haven't had quite as many data entries to do, but that could be because you all are just getting started with the second year. One thing that we want to talk about is the non-disclosure forms. Lori maintains a list of the people who have either emailed it, the organizations who have emailed the non-disclosure forms that have been signed by the staff, or sent by mail. And so if you haven't had all of your staff members fill that out, please make sure that they do fill it out and send it over to Lori. If they handle the data in any way, from entering it anywhere or mailing it to Lindsay B or anything like that. That's pretty much my update on data. Does anybody have updates or questions?
Laura, it's Lindsay again. And for the people that need to do the webinar and send that information, it needs to be the leaders too as well, right? So leaders, master trainers, and any staff that are touching the forms.
Yes, that's correct.
Any other questions for Flora?
I'm here the rest of the call if you have something pop up, but I also wanted to give an update on our training that we were going to have in the southwestern Colorado. So we've officially, did someone say something? Oh, we officially set the dates for April 7 through 11, and our priority was to help or have the training be in that area because of the tribes. So so far we have the Mountain Ute participating, but we're going to look for other agencies or organizations in that area that are interested and then open it up statewide so we can make sure we have a full class. So just keep that in the back of your minds if you have people interested. It's going to be a lay leader, CDSMP and DSMP cross-training. And it'll be at the Holiday Inn in Cortez. So I will give you more information as that opens up.
So April 7 through 11.
Correct, April.
And do you know if there's going to be a cost yet, or will that depend on how many spots you have available?
No, we will not have a cost.
Great. Okay, I'm writing that in. Oops, I may be writing that in. Perfect. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
Next up are some updates on our grant year 2 from Connie Young and or Lindsay Blackwelder, because I wasn't sure which of you were going to be on the call for sure, and I wasn't sure who had the updates. So I'm going to turn it over to both of you.
Lindsay, why don't you go ahead with what's going on with MOUs, and I can fill in a little bit on the carryover request status.
Okay, so a couple weeks ago, MOUs were sent out to all organizations. I have received most of them back. I believe that I have signed and mailed back an MOU to everyone that's on the phone. So if you haven't received your countersigned MOU in the mail, let me know, because from what I could figure from everyone that's on the phone, you all have sent me yours and I've countersigned it and sent it back. There are a few organizations that have not returned it yet, but in general, it's been a pretty fast and seamless process. So this second year, in terms of MOU, is actually a bit easier than the first year because we didn't have to do all the HIPAA agreements. So please do remember that everyone in your organization has to watch that HIPAA webinar. I think most everyone has done a pretty good job of that. And then send me the quiz answers, the 4 quiz answers at the end. And then, of course, as Flora said, that signing the disclosure form, all lay leaders and people that would come into contact with that need to sign that as well. So those are kind of the pieces we're waiting on, but most organizations have done a very nice job of giving me back their MOU. So again, if you have any questions, please let me know, but thank you all for your timeliness. I certainly appreciate it.
And this is Connie. I'm hoping that everyone will be able to get those in. I was assuming they had been signed and all that. That's great that most of them have, just because we want to avoid having the issue we had last year with not being able to fill all of the spots that we had toward the end of the grant year, since we, again, this year have a shorter period of time. And we need to have the classes completed by the end of August, not started. You know, we might, there's a possibility we can make an exception here or there, but in terms of writing up the reports that we have for year 1, it makes it really difficult to do that if we don't have everything completed by the end of the grant year. And so that is the intent, is to have them classes finished by the end of the grant year, which is August 31st. And on the heels of that, I was hoping that we would have the carryover request approved and completed by now, and it's close, but I've had to submit multiple revisions, so I'm on my 4th and final, I hope, today. And the revisions have not been really substantive, except that just different types of format or specific types of information that I needed to submit that I didn't know about ahead of time. But in any case, hopefully I will know that next week, and then I can get with Lindsay Blackwelder about the additional completers that we included in the budget and what was approved and all that, so that we can get those revisions to your MOUs done. And the process that we have to do internally here for this type of update to the contract is much simpler than the original contract, and we made a lot of changes to the contracts this last fall that took more time to do, but will expedite the revisions, and so it should be a quicker process. Just a couple of highlights. Nothing is approved, but I believe it will be. But just so you know, I did, in response to some of the discussions we've had on this call, I did put in travel reimbursement for grantees for one statewide meeting. And Lindsay, you had mentioned hoping to do that in March.
April, actually.
I'm sorry, April.
Yeah.
That might be what I wanted to mention on that, and we can talk more about that later. But what we also have in the budget, which was, or in the carryover request, which was in the year one request, was funding for a consultant to help with sustainability planning. So my thought is on doing the one in-person meeting related to sustainability, that we would have the consultant on board. We'd be able to pay for the grantees to come into one meeting in Denver to meet with the consultant and sort of kick things off. And once we have the consultant in place, we'll figure out what the best way to do that is. But so I don't know if that would be, maybe that would be an additional in-person meeting. I don't know. It's kind of early to make a firm decision since I don't have the approval yet and need to, get out a request for, not a formal request for proposals, but need to get some proposals from consultants and then select one and all of that. But it is expensive to bring everybody in, so but I did put in the travel for one meeting, so hopefully that'll be a plus for everybody. And then I also put in the additional books and CDs to sort of support the people who were providing classes when the grant funding was not available. That suggestion was made a couple meetings back, so appreciate that. And then, as I think you all know, we have the online program that was slated for last year as well, and since that wasn't started, then that's part of the carryover request as well. So anyway, hopefully this last revision that I will make will be the last one, and we'll be able to finalize all of that next week, I'm hoping. Any questions on that? Okay.
Great. Thank you, Connie.
I'm sorry. Hey, Connie, this is Sue Connery.
Hi, Sue.
Hi there. I have a question just about the grant year. I know the end of the grant year is August 31st. And my question is, do we have to have the class completed by the end of the grant year or to be eligible for the dollars, or can we just start it? I have some people that want to start their class in August.
Well, I know that somewhere along the way people had the impression that starting at any time before the end of the grant year was okay, but I'm not quite sure where that came from. Really, it's supposed to be completed by the end of the grant year. I mean, things are supposed to be done and delivered by August 31st.
Okay, I just needed to hear the absolute.
Yeah, I mean,
a little bit. This is Lindsay from AHEC. So what we had done in the Be Well Colorado grant, as well as the first year of this grant, is we were able to reimburse for that class if at least 4 of the sessions were done. Because as you know, the participant completers have to do 4 out of 6 sessions in order to reimburse. So if you had completed 4 sessions and maybe your 5th and 6th session were in September, we were able to reimburse because we already knew who was going to make 4. So we already knew, well, they've already missed 3, so there's no way on 5th and 6th that they could get, those 4 in. So that's kind of how we were able to do that. So at least 4 have to be done in order for us to be able to realistically and ethically reimburse. Most people, that really wasn't an issue. They had 5 done, and their last one was in September.
Okay.
So it really wasn't an issue.
well,
Okay.
Again, I'm from the state's perspective, we would like to have them completed by then. I know what you're saying about the 4 out of 6 is what you're looking for, but we don't have the completed reports in, and the data isn't into CDPHE, so it makes it all more difficult. If I'm not saying that if we get desperate and need to fill classes, we won't try to consider some exceptions, but I want those to be the exceptions, not the rule. And really, ideally, they would all 6 be done by August 31st.
That's what we will shoot for. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Thank you, Connie and Lindsay. Well, these are just, we always spend a lot of time talking about grant-related things on the calls. And just as a reminder, in addition to all the grant work that's happening, which is considerable, we also have a lot of ongoing pieces and parts as well, and I'm real glad we're going to be talking about sustainability in our in-person meetings, because that's one of the things we really wanted to do as a collaborative this year, was to look at some of those issues, and so that's very good news. And these are just some of the updates I have on statewide leader trainings, and I wanted to just share them with you. We are doing a Tomando Control, which is the Spanish chronic disease curriculum, and that one's here in Lakewood, February 24th through 27th, and that one is $650 for the full 4 days, and includes snacks and lunch every day. And we still have some spaces available, but we are getting close to full on that one. So if you know anybody who wants to do a Tomando training, and it is not the diabetes, it is the chronic disease self-management program. And then also, Kelly from CDPHE forwarded the information on the diabetes prevention program life coach training, which is in March. And so wanted to make sure you had that information. And if you need details on any of this, there are links available. We'll be happy to send you that information. Also coming up is we're going to do again the implementing evidence-based programs within patient-centered medical homes. And this is one that COA does as part of our Summer Academy. This one we did last year. Last year we called it Implementing CDSMP. This year we're expanding it to Implementing Evidence-Based Programs. And it will be hosted by COA. We also have Mary Brick, who's with the National Association of Chronic Disease Directors. And she will be coming in and co-presenting with me. And we will have a virtual site visit, which is code for wine and cheese reception, with virtual site visits and videos of patient-centered medical homes and community health centers. That's on the Friday evening, June 6th, and the workshop is all day Saturday and half day Sunday, and that's all taking place at the Sheridan in Lakewood. In addition, sometime that week, I think it's going to be the 9th through the 12th, but we're waiting for confirmation, we're going to do another chronic disease program, and that'll be the CDSMP classes, and that'll be in Lakewood. And then we know that, thanks to Flora's update, the class in Cortez for the tribes is set for April 7th through 11th at no cost, which is very good news. So that's what I know. And I know Secahek was planning on a training. Do we have anybody from Secahek on the call with us? Okay, I know they were looking at a CDSMP training this spring, but I don't have any details yet. So, I wanted to just review any questions on those trainings before we move on.
Yeah, this is Dawn in Burlington. We are partnering with Rural Solutions, and they're going to be submitting a health disparities grant soon. And we had requested some Tomando money because we just simply don't have any money to send people. And so we obviously won't have funding by February. Is there going to be any other offerings this year for Tomando?
We can always schedule something, Dawn, if we have enough folks, if we can get 6 or 8 people at a time to train. And I did get an email yesterday from Glenda, so I knew you guys were working together on that. That's terrific. So let's talk offline to see if you already have some people available. Maybe we can help with something.
Okay, yeah, I have 2 that need it. So.
Okay, great. Well, how about I give you a call later this afternoon?
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? Okay. As you know, last month, Tracy Compton from National Council on Aging did a very nice webinar that was put together by Connie Young on marketing, and this is the link. And if you did not have a chance to hear it or see it, it's well worth your time. And I know that Connie had talked about possibly following up with some of the ideas. And Connie, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just didn't know if you wanted to give any updates. So I made you a slide. But if you don't have any updates, that's okay too.
Well, I don't have an update, but I couldn't tell. We didn't really get through when we did the introductions on the webinar. It was we were having trouble with echoes and had to disconnect and call back in and all that. So I wasn't sure who all was on the call and who may have participated since then. So of the folks who are on today, who either was on the call or watched the webinar later? Anybody?
I did. This is Monica.
Monica, I thought you were on.
This is Flora. I was there too.
Flora.
Koa was there.
I'm sorry?
Koa.
Right. You were there in force. Thank you. Brittany, were you on? No?
This is Kathy. No, I attended for the second half.
Okay. Anyone else that was on that marketing, either the webinar or after, checked it out afterward? So for those of you who are on, were there any, and it's kind of putting you on the spot, so you may not have an idea off the top of your head, but do you have any feedback, anything that you found helpful, anything that you, I was hoping that people would come away with at least one idea that that they could implement to increase your exposure and get more, help with recruiting participants. For those of you who are on the call, did you have any feedback either on any of that? Monica, start with you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I thought it was all really, really good because I think sometimes we kind of get caught in a situation where we try and we feel like nothing's working. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. But anyway, but I thought there was a lot of good ideas. Plus, I think some things that we tend to be narrow-minded about is, like we stick to the same things like brochures and that kind of stuff. And so it gave us some other ideas, and and sometimes I think when things don't work, we have to, even if it's just once in a while, we have to get down to the nitty-gritty and do bulk mailing, or we have to do stuff like that and know that it's okay to do that. Once in a while, I know there's money involved, but sometimes it just kind of gives us the more of a push to know that there's other things out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flora or any of the folks from COA or Kathy, do you have any feedback or any ideas that you kind of latched onto that you're going to use?
This is Kathy. A lot of the suggestions were on a broader basis out in the community for how to outreach, but I think all of us could take away that talking to the primary care clinicians that actually see the patients and what brief scripting you can give them, that they can introduce the program and then see if that person's interested in getting a call. Mm-hmm. We should always keep primary in our mind.
And you've got your brochure, and I saw that a while back and wanted to touch base with you on it, Kathy. It's excellent. It's just all the kind of information that is appealing and that I think would be great. It's a great tool. Brochure isn't. You have to have some tools, information tools to give to people, and you've got a great one. So.
In the 2014, I don't know, Lindsay McIntosh, if everyone knows on the call that 2014 for Kaiser Permanente is a transition year where we're going to partner with COA. they're going to do the logistics of getting the leaders and offering the classes. So we actually are moving to the more general brochure that COA uses if our members aren't quite ready to sign up but want a little bit more information and can't get on the COA website.
Okay, I'm not sure which one that is, but
it's a good one also.
Good.
It's very similar. Very similar. It has a little bit different graphics, but it's a very similar tool.
Okay. So Lindsay, did you have any comments, or Flora, or anyone else from COA? I don't want to.
Well, I would say that one of the things that I think Tracy hit on was that it takes more than one approach, and that's kind of what Monica and Kathy both were saying too, that there's all these different things to do, and I think we get stuck, all of us get stuck in what we're used to doing, and it takes, when you look at who comes to a class and why, there may be 10 different reasons and ways those 10 people heard about the class and got to the class. So it sometimes takes a lot of work to get to all those different people, and that means different methods and being persistent. So I think she definitely hit it on the head with that, and I'm really hoping we're going to be able, she and I are going to be able to talk about the whole, the piece working with the practices more, because that was something that that we've certainly seen is helpful.
Do you? This is Monica again, and just to remind everybody that you know, don't forget that we also have our resources we can depend on, and they're more than willing to help if we invite them into it or if we ask them, which would be our pharmacies and even some of our schools and teachers, you know, putting them in the lounges and stuff like that. Because, you know, I've talked to quite a few of those, and they're always more than happy to do that, the churches and things like that. So
that's great. A couple things that I've come across in the past couple months, and a lot of you have been involved with CDSMP, probably all of you have been involved a lot longer than I have, which is a year. So you may have already seen all these, but if you haven't, there's a couple tools that I wanted to mention. One is this produced by CDC and the National Center for Chronic Disease Prevention and Health Promotion, which is, they call it the 1-2-3 approach to provider outreach. It's a really long, 200 and some page document that has different approaches and tools for approaching providers. And Lindsay, you've probably used this or probably familiar with it. You know what I'm talking about, Lindsay McIntosh?
I do. We worked with the CDC and the National Association of Chronic Disease Directors on sort of an abbreviated approach to connecting health systems to evidence-based programs, and did a 3-part webinar series that you can actually download on the, let me see, it's on the NACDD website. That is it's kind of a shortcut version of that. You're right, that's a long document.
It is, but I'm wondering if for folks that haven't seen that or haven't seen it lately or want to have access to, maybe we should send out a link to what you just mentioned, the webinar with the shorter version, and then I'm sure I can find a link to this since I got it online, and I could send that out for people to access if you want to take a look, because while it is long, it's written in a pretty user-friendly format. There's a lot of forms and bulleted lists and, you know, white space, so it's not like reading a 200-page journal article. And then would people be interested in that?
Let me suggest another option, which is there is a really, Chris Katzenmeyer and I last year did a webinar on the same topic that's available on the NCOA website that is same kind of topic, and it's some of the pieces and moving parts, kind of an overview, and that is a really easy one to download, and it's very specific to chronic disease programs. And that one's available on the NCOA site, which you wouldn't probably need to go through passwords and things to get to that. The other thing I will mention is that we've been asked to come back and do a revised, updated version of that, which we are set to do on, I believe it's June 17th. And I'll make sure you all get invitations to that. But that will be for the NCOA, the grantee, the monthly grantee group. So we'll be doing that one in June. But between now and then, that one on the NCOA website, I'll send that link because that's probably even an easier, more accessible one than the one we did for NACDD.
Well, let's do all of the above. People don't, if somebody doesn't feel like they have the need to look at it, they don't have to, or you can look at. Sometimes you look at 10 pages of something and get something that's really useful. So I'll find a link to that 123 approach to provider outreach document. And then if you can get the link to try to get direct a link to that webinar on the NCOA website as possible, that would be great too. And then the other one that I found is, I think it's a little bit older, it's a final report. When was this produced? Challenges and Successes in Implementing Chronic Disease Self-Management Program. And I'm sure COA, oh, here it is, 2004. So it's 10 years old. However, surprisingly, still relevant today. And when I was flipping through looking at some of the marketing information, it had some good analysis of what some of the challenges are, and as well as what some of the successes are. Even though, like I said, it's 10 years old, the problems haven't all been resolved and the challenges haven't all gone away. So I would be happy to see if I can find a link to that. I just found a hard copy here on the shelf, but there's probably a PDF link that I could find, and I can send that to you as well, Lindsay, to send out with the minutes. Just trying to provide some more tools to people. This is it's a shorter report, but anyway, it was kind of.
And what was the name of that one, Connie? What was the name of that one?
It says Final Report, and I didn't refresh my memory on what the final report aspect was, but it's basically on the Stanford program. The whole title is Final Report, Challenges and Successes in Implementing the Chronic Disease Self-Management Program.
There's an updated report that NCOA did in conjunction with the Stanford programs that talks about implementation that was done end of 2013 that might have some of the same information, might be a little bit more up to date.
Do you mean that progress report?
Yes.
This is different from that. It's different kind of content. It's not so much like we did this many completers or that, but it's more analyzing what issues are and what some of approaches to marketing or research overview, that kind of thing. So, I mean, it would be great to send out that other progress report. That's more of a national report on who's done what, which might be interesting to people as well, but the focus is a little bit different in this, or quite a bit different. I will send you links to those two, though, and if you could add yours, that would be great. Hopefully people be able to make use of some of these tools that have been developed over time. And just to wrap up the web discussion about the marketing webinar, I just really encourage people to go online, and thank you for putting that link into the your webinar here, Lindsay, so that people have easy access to that. The whole idea is that we're really hoping we can be as, I'm trying to do what I can at from my perspective on helping people get people in seats for the classes, because I know it seemed like it was really a struggle last year. And yeah, so this is one piece of information, one set of suggestions and ideas that you have access to. It's free, it's quick, and you know, hopefully will help everyone be successful.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Connie?
One final question for you all. Would it be helpful to have on these calls each time, like maybe an opportunity for people to share a marketing success, you know, something that you did in the past month that went well, just to kind of keep ideas flowing. So some of the people that spoke on the call, I mean on the webinar with Tracy and today, had some good ideas that I think, you know, like some of you mentioned, we all going to get in a pattern of doing things a certain way, and we might know about this other approach we could use, but we all kind of forget about it, or it might be something, a totally new idea, and everybody's got a lot of good experience, and I know I was trying a variety of ways of getting people, recruiting people. So just wondering how to keep that momentum going, and would that be something that you all would be interested in? You know, having sort of a marketing spotlight each month?
Sure, I think that would be great.
Okay. Would that be all right, Lindsay, if we put that on the agenda, and if
Sure.
And if sort of an open mic type time for
well,
a couple
yeah,
people to share ideas?
Always, sure, Connie, and we always try and have some open time at the end of the call. You know, it kind of depends on how long the agenda goes, but definitely we can build this into the agenda so we can talk about it every month.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Next item on the agenda was we talked about scheduling the quarterly meetings in person, and it sounds like that may need to move a little bit. You all had indicated on the last call that an April meeting and maybe the September meeting would be good times for traveling. And so I just wanted to let you know what that looks like. If we do it for the regularly scheduled April meeting, that would be Friday, April 4th. And we had talked about doing it somewhere in Lakewood. So we had talked about the Graham House, which some of you remember. It's a wonderful meeting place. It's a City of Lakewood facility. And we also have other places we can go depending on the size of the group in Lakewood. We also have a good list of hotels available that are close by that we get some good rates at. So those notes I wanted to share. If we do a Friday, we had talked about discussing sustainability as part of the agenda, as Connie mentioned. So my thought was that we wanted to try and do at least a 3-hour meeting, if not a full day meeting, so that we could have lunch, especially since we're all traveling. You know, you hate to travel across the state for an hour-and-a-half meeting. So I'm hoping we can make it a longer deal. But this is just what I have for now, and like I said, it sounds like now from what Connie's saying about the carryover funding, we may not know in time to be able to pull this off for April. I know May and June start to get real busy again, so I imagine what we need to do is table this until we hear back on the funding piece. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
How do y'all feel about a longer agenda, like a 9 till noon, a 9 till 2, something like that?
I think it would be great. Because like you said, if we're traveling up there, it'd be well worth our time.
I have an idea. Sorry, was that Monica or whoever?
Yeah.
I sometimes can't tell when if someone's done or not. Did you have something else you were going? No, I'm still talking on top of you. Sorry about that. I was just, as I was thinking about this, wondering I think the sustainability part will, if we have a consultant coming in and all that, and I have to make sure this makes sense to them, but I'm assuming kind of a group meeting with the consultant at the beginning would be a good place to start. So if I'm assuming I'm correct, that would take a chunk of time, and of course there's always you always have an agenda of other things. So, one thought might be of doing like doing either a full day or one thing I've done with other statewide meetings is like have an afternoon session, like maybe depending on availability and everything else, have one part of the meeting the afternoon of the first day or the morning of the second day, so it's like a day and a half, and there's one night, one overnight in between, or a full day with part of it for the regular collaborative issues, and then the other part dealing specifically into sustainability. I'm thinking of that being a longer, more than a couple hours for the sustainability part. But anyway, that's my thought about that, especially if we're going to, the reason I put the request in for travel is specific to sustainability so that we could get as many people as possible involved in that process, which I think is so important. We've got a year and a half left on the grant and don't know if there'll be anything beyond that. So I'm feeling the need to see what I can do from my perspective in addition to what you all are already doing to look at what can we do to help keep this program live and thriving after a year and a half from now.
Hey Connie, this is Lindsay from AHEC, and I think what you might do is perhaps do some sort of survey, like SurveyMonkey or something, just to kind of maybe get an idea of how people feel. I hesitate to suggest any sort of overnight meeting, and that's just me speaking from limited time on this project and travel time. Not sure a 2-day meeting is completely feasible, but I may be way off. I might be the only one that feels that way. So do you think that maybe some sort of SurveyMonkey would be helpful in kind of finding out how long people can spend, what time frame might work best for them, so that we can hopefully get as many people there as possible? Because I agree the sustainability piece is huge.
Yeah, we can. I definitely would be wanting to get input from people. I mean, for some people, there's no way around. There's almost no way around having an overnight. If you're coming from Grand Junction or Durango or Alamosa, it's a really long day to, start at whatever 9 and go to 5 and all of that. So the reason so the budget that I put in for travel did include an overnight for people who are way outside the Denver area. So the other piece of that would be what we need in terms of the sustainability discussion. If we need a longer period of time, then I want to make that time, build that time in, and how we schedule it would be the other part of that. Well, but definitely would like to make it workable for as many as possible. I also know from having done this many times that it's very hard to find something that everybody likes. So you have to try to balance out, what you need and trying to make it work for as many people as possible, and hope that other people will kind of go with the flow.
So maybe you could create a survey that looks at both things. First of all, what do people want from sustainability? So you can kind of tailor the presentation to what people feel are the sustainability issues. And then the second component of that survey could be, okay, so let's talk time frame, when, how long, those questions.
Yeah, the time frame and logistics would definitely be open to getting input. About the sustainability, I was also referring to what the consultant would want to do and what they would think would be most helpful to get the process moving. So it is kind of a two-way communication there. But
so Connie, this is Lindsay. I'm wondering, it seems to me like what we need to do is table it at this point so that we can find out about the funding, find out about the specifics of kind of what you are thinking of with the consultant, and then maybe look at what Lindsay Blackwelder is suggesting with a Survey Monkey. But it seems like we aren't going to be able to come to any kind of a decision point on this today, just because we don't have all the information. So maybe we can set up a separate conversation offline or table discussion till next time.
Yeah, I think I appreciate the input and the suggestion from Lindsay, and I think it's good to, not just assume that people will come, and then, try to get input. Like I said, understanding that everybody does have a different perspective, but the bigger piece, or not the bigger piece, but one important part is probably actually getting to the point of selecting a consultant and trusting some of what their approach, that's why we'd be hiring them, so we need to get their input on it. And again, I'm assuming that this would be a beneficial, one of the first steps that we would want the person to do, but I'd want to get their perspective on how to go about that as well. So, yes.
So so are you okay with us tabling it at this point, and then we can revisit? Okay.
Yes. No, I think it's good discussion, but unfortunately, we can't quite make that decision right now.
Okay, great. And somebody has us, oh, there we go. They got it. So I want to move us to the next agenda item then. We wanted to have a discussion on leader retention, and that was something that Monica and Brittany and Sue had brought up, I guess it was. And so before we get to that, I have just a couple of other things I want to flip through. Somebody has us on a speakerphone or something, so we're getting reverberation. So if y'all could mute yourselves for a second. Thank you. So what we have is our additional agenda items. And again, I'm still hearing an echo. I think somebody has got us on a speakerphone. There we go. So additional agenda items. Just a couple of things I wanted to offer you is we do a project that we have found very helpful called Self-Management Tips. This is something that is produced, was originally produced in conjunction with Colorado Community Health Network. It now continues on with COA. This is something that we send out to clinics across the state as well as some outside of the state. They use this just as a reminder of the connection to self-management goals, to self-management support, and to referring patients into classes. If you are interested in being on the email list to receive these monthly, just shoot me an email. Some of you may already be getting it, but they're very good conversation starters, and so we found them really helpful, and we'll be happy to put you on the list. The next thing I wanted to go over with you real briefly is when we were on the call with Tracy talking about marketing, one of the things we discussed was the leader training piece, and what COA does is what we call Quick Start. So I wanted to, this will be part of the slide pack you'll get, but I wanted to show you this real briefly. What these are just, this is a very quick slide presentation. What we do is a lot of brainstorming around it, and this is what we do at the end of all of our leader trainings to help leaders start thinking marketing as they're going through the process. So I promised you I would share this with you. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but we can talk later. What this talks about first is who we are, why we're here, why we're doing the classes, and how do we get classes started. Then we talk about the importance of relationships. We talk about how the newly trained leader works with their coordinator at COA, since we are the license holder, how we work with the home organizations to produce their classes. And these three ladies are, we're at a 6-month follow-up class. They're all wearing crowns because they were all crowned queens of self-management, which I just love that photo. So we talk about what the organization, the license holder, can do for the newly trained leader, and what all of these pieces and moving parts are, including fidelity, sustainability, collecting data, additional training. And then we go through, we've already talked about the paperwork, but we tie in the importance of doing the paperwork, why it's important to actually sustaining the program. So helps make it real. And we then do a series of brainstorming, and we go through with them the same rules of brainstorming we do that we learn in the leader training. And we brainstorm around where can you host a class, because people get the idea that they can only host a class one place. And as those of us who've been doing classes a while know, there are many, many places you can host a class. We then talk about when can you have a class and how to find a class that will work for you and for the people you want to have in the class. It needs to be convenient for people to come to your class, not just for you as a leader. And then who needs the class, who wants the class, who needs to know about the class. Again, these are all done as long brainstorming sessions. So we end up telling a lot of stories as well. But then this is the big piece. How can I let people know about my class? And we go into a lot of those marketing things that you heard Tracy talking about. And then what we do is go through a list of different promotional pieces, brochures, things that a lot of our folks have already been using. And some of these are very old. I have not updated this recently because we usually bring in solid pieces rather than just the slide pack. But these are all different samples of things in English, Spanish that we have used over the years. And then we talk about what else is going on. So that is what we do as our Quick Start program. And as I mentioned, we will have that. It'll be in this slide pack on the webinar. And if you want more information about it, please let me know, and we will do that. And before we end, we have about 25 minutes, and we wanted to talk about questions that had come up about, excuse me as I flip back through here. That's my brain working in reverse. It's very scary. But I wanted to talk about leader retention. And this was something that came up. Connie had a discussion with Sue Connery and also with Annika Wolf about leader retention. And so I will turn it over to Sue or Monica. Do you want to tell us what the issue is, and then we can all kind of weigh in on ideas?
Sure. This is Connie. Do you want me to just give I can fill in a little bit and then turn it over to Monica and Sue. Hopefully they don't feel put on the spot. But when I was talking with each of them about leader training that they wanted to do this next year, we were talking about the need for leaders and just what happens with sometimes leaders that are interested in the class, but then you invest the time and money to get them trained, and then they might not do any classes, or they only want to do one a year. And it does seem like it's difficult for some people. It depends on a variety of things, whether they're paid employees, whether they're volunteers, whether they're contractors. And it just occurred to me that there's probably a lot of different ways that everybody is using a lot of different scenarios used to use leaders, whether which category they fit in. And so I just thought that each of Sue and Monica could explain a little bit more about their situations, and then other people kind of share ideas about what has worked for them and what hasn't. So that's where I was I thought that this might be a good resource discussion and exchange of ideas. So either of you want to chime in, Sue or Monica?
Okay, well, this is Monica. And some of the issues that we've had, or the problems that we've had, I mean, we've had problems, but then we've kind of found different ways to kind of keep them. But, you know, we had a training probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we had, oh, I bet there was 8 to 10 people that showed up, and out of that training 4 leaders, we had 2 people that actually went with it and followed through and continued with teaching classes and that type of thing, facilitating classes. And as time went on, you know, we eventually had to stop having classes because one of the other leader, you know, just couldn't follow through anymore. And so all the classes were stopped. Well, and then when chronic disease came in and we went for training, we were able to pick up, there were 4 leaders that we picked up, and what we've done is we have, you know, at the end of the sessions or the workshop, what we do is we give them like a stipend, and sometimes, you know, it's not really a stipend, it's more of a gratuity type thing. And what that does is it at least kind of covers gas or mileage, and they appreciate that. And I think that's sometimes a little extra funds for them, and that kind of gives them more of a, even though I think people volunteer and they know it's a voluntary position, you know, with the times the way they are and that type of thing, the extra money kind of comes in handy. But now out of the 4, we've got one that's kind of taken a little bit of a break, and it's kind of put, you know, kind of a hardship on us just because, you know, with 3, you've got one that's always jumping in to cover, or, you know, with the extra person, you have to kind of use them a little bit more, and it's been really difficult. And so if anybody has even any ideas, maybe to, you know, our situation here is a little bit different, just because the San Luis Valley is, you know, so broad, and our communities are far and few between here and there, and so there's a lot of traveling. And number one, people don't want to travel like that. My thought has been if we could get people to cover a portion of the valley, then we could train in that area and get, you know, 2 leaders that way and 2 leaders west and that type of thing. But so far, it really hasn't worked out that way. So if anybody has any ideas, or, you know, our biggest problem is we use them and use them and use them, and then they kind of get burnt out. You know, the positive thing is the extra money comes in handy, so we've started doing that. And what we do is the funds that we get reimbursed for, like for the completers, if we host the class, or if there's a senior center that hosts the class, then what we do is we give them the majority of the completer fee, and then what my director does is then she'll send them a letter and just say, you know, maybe they would be willing to give the leaders a gratuity, you know, payback or something. And we've done that a couple times, and that's kind of worked too.
And Monica, do you just, it's Connie just asking a question, you yourself do some of the leader training? Is that right?
Well,
or occasional, or
there's 2 of us that are master trainers in CDSMP, and so we are talking about having our first training for our trainers now in either March or April.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
So
I
it will
thought
be
you had
our
done some
first
in the past.
time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we did do. You know, I mean, we've had somebody come in to do one, but we've had 2 of them. And actually, out of one of the class, the diabetes, there were 3 that came in and 3 that are still leaders. So it was a smaller class, but it was well worth it because all 3, you know, have retained that position. So now I do have a question, and maybe someone could answer this, but because we're new at on the master training side, and I guess I know the answer is probably going to be that it depends on what we want to do, but I don't know if anybody's ever, I thought about bringing one person in that's familiar with it and has done that, and then one of us that is the master trainer then hold the training with that one person so that, you know, we're for sure we're on the same page and it gets done correctly.
I think that's a great idea, Monica. I like that idea a lot. And I think you could even bring in a person and then the three of you work with someone who's like a seasoned trainer. And then that can be really helpful. And there's no rule about doing it that way for sure. But I think that gives you reinforcements that you're doing a good job, and also gives you someone to bounce things off of. And I would share your frustration. It's always frustrating when you train people and then it doesn't stick. And that is really hard. And I think one of the things that over time gets easier is that you start having different kinds of conversations with people before the training to make sure they understand what it is that they are signing on to do. And it's still sometimes, even if you have those conversations, there's still some folks that are really surprised, or it isn't what they thought it was going to be, or it's too restrictive, or there's too much travel, or life happens, you know. But there's always some of that going on. But I think your idea about finding pairs of leaders that are comfortable in certain geographic areas is really, really a good idea too. And I think that that definitely is the way to go.
Right.
It's also hard, and just I don't have an answer, but just some input. It's also really hard when we're all in a position where we're not all able to do consistent classes to keep leaders busy. And then when they're not busy, they lose interest or they move on to something else. And so the downtimes, you know, it's like you're really busy for a while, so you're using them and you burn them out, and then you're not busy and you lose them. So either way you can lose them. And so it's about finding that happy medium. And I think a lot of us are still struggling with that one.
Well, and one other question that I have also is, and I don't know that we can do this or if anybody's tried it and it's worked or hasn't worked, but my thought too is, you know, when they come on board, and let's say, because we don't usually, you know, the training itself, you know, is free of cost. And so, you know, of course, our expectations are higher from them because of that. But I don't know if it's possible, you know, that they can, you know, you sit down, talk to them, and then if they decide to continue with the training, then maybe they can find something saying, okay, they're committed at least once a year or twice a year, you know, and they kind of...
Yeah, a number of us do that. I mean, everybody signs a leader agreement before they complete the training. Part of what they do is, and we tell them up front, we're going to have you sign a leader agreement that says you're training under our license, and here's the expectation, and that here's how you'll do the classes, and we're here for you. And it sets up the understanding that they're going to do one class or two classes within the next 12 months. Usually it's two within the first 12 months and then one a year after that. But we have that, that we have everybody sign, again, just to help set the stage so that they know that's the expectation. And sometimes we're able to, even though we charge people usually for their for them to come to class, you know, it helps sometimes for them to know there's an investment. So even if you aren't charging for the class, if you let them know that other people are paying this amount of money, and that because of the grant funding you have, it's free of charge for them, but that there is a value to this training. I think sometimes that can help.
Okay.
What do other people think on this? Especially those of you who've been doing classes a while.
This is Dawn. I agree with the value statement you just made. A lot of things we do in the public health world are free to our consumers, but they have a cost. And I think it's really important to emphasize the fact of the value of the education that people are receiving, not only in monetary ways, but also in, gaining a healthier life. So that is, I totally concur with that statement.
Dawn, how do you deal with the leaders how do you find leaders that are going to stick?
Well, we are in a unique position. Vicki Kosh and I are the leaders here, and it's rolled into a part of our salary. So we provide the classes on the clock, and it hasn't been an issue. So what is an issue is we're limited. So the two of us can only do so many things in a lifetime, and so that is the limiting factor. So really, I'm not a good one to ask that question because we get paid to do our job. So.
Well, but part of how you've expanded yourself, cloned yourself, if you will, is to have relationships with like Rural Solutions,
right?
So that you can reach out and involve, get some help to reach some of the areas. And I think that's a good way of cloning yourself.
Yeah, Rural Solutions and Prairie Family.
That's right, Prairie Family too. Sorry, I forgot.
Here. So we, there are many opportunities for people in the region to tap into, and our agency is just one of those. So.
Okay.
I think also that the volunteer versus a stipend volunteer versus staff is a real good discussion for leader retention too. I know that we at COA do stipends for classes, and we've sort of been doing that all along. And I think because it is a stipend position, it's $300 for the 6 weeks is what we pay, and people take it hold it as if it's a part-time job. And so we have some people that are always teaching classes, and we have some that maybe teach once a year. But there are a lot of people who teach a lot of classes for us. And I think because there is money connected to it, sometimes they take it more seriously. However, that being said, I know we have Kathy and Rebecca on the phone, and the Kaiser leaders have been volunteers, and they've had volunteer leaders that have been doing classes for years and years and years very happily. So I may be very wrong in my opinion. What do you guys think?
This is Kathy, and I've worked with the Kaiser program for about 4 years. And Lindsay's correct about how long of time frame leaders have been involved, and our stipend traditionally has been less. So I think in some of those leaders, this might be an idea for all of you, is Ron Ladar developed a very short questionnaire. If people were visiting their primary care doctor, he just put it at the check-in desk at primary care, and then are you interested in being a volunteer? Do you live with a chronic condition? And we got probably half of our volunteers with that brochure that Ron developed about 3 years ago. So these are folks that their heart is in helping other people. Either they took the workshop. That's where we also get bang for our buck, or have in the past, is talking at the last class or two. You got to do it a little bit earlier than the last class because we know there's attrition. If you're feeling like this was a great program for you and you're seeing changes in how you're managing your condition, do you have the time to, teach one workshop a year? And that's an opportunity there too.
That's a great idea.
Often the folks that are, if you can tie it into who's ever maybe doing the fidelity check, that's part of your program, or maybe for all of you it's COA that does your fidelity checks. But in our case, it was Ron Bladar, and he would come and he'd talk about the volunteer opportunity because he was just finishing up a fidelity check.
Yeah, we've identified leaders that way too. It's a fun way to do it because they get very excited about being able to teach what they've just learned, which is the ultimate way to learn. So.
This is Connie. Just an idea too that when you think about volunteers in the community, and most local media are interested in covering feel-good stories about people helping other people, and this would be a great way to do a couple things. One is acknowledge a volunteer for their service, and also publicize your program, because the person would, you have to say something about what they're doing in order to do a little piece on it. So that might be another thought, is of just trying to get some news coverage, little nice feature. In the Denver area, there's the nine who care and everyday heroes kinds of things that the TV stations do. But in smaller media markets, it would be in most cases even easier because they are looking for positive stories about people in the community.
Well, and one of the leaders that we do have that just came on board actually did finish up a diabetes self-management class, and he jumped on board, and he was at the last training, and he's one of our strongest leaders right now, that we just pulled in, and he's wonderful. So yeah, that is that's a plus also. But I don't want to burn him out because he's so good, and that again is the problem that I have. But I've got some really good ideas and
well, volunteers, whether they're stipend or whatever you call those folks that lead classes for us, unless they're on the staff, it's so much easier to keep them and love them and help them understand how important they are than it is to try and recruit and train new volunteers. And there's like a whole, you can get degrees in volunteer management and how the care and feeding and grooming and loving of volunteers. And so it's not an easy task to keep everybody happy and working at a level that's comfortable for them. So.
Right.
Anybody else? I'm glad you've got some ideas, Monica. Anybody else have anything? Sue, is this helpful to you at all?
It is, actually. I think I'm on mute.
Nope, you're there. You were on mute.
Okay, I'm there. I think that what's interesting is that all of our leaders are employed, and so they do this. I don't remember who said that, but they do this as part of their job. And so some of the notes I'm making are actually to look at a volunteer pool that opens up. We could do more volunteer management, but I think sometimes they may have more time. The limitation seems to come with full-time employees who this is added to their job. And I'm hearing they have to alter the rest of their job so they don't go over 40 hours or whatever it is to make it work. So it's very helpful to hear more about the volunteer pool that's being used. And then one of the other pieces that I need to work on, and this has more to do with retention, is we lose the commitment from these leaders' employers. And so it's really going back to the employers to be sure that they understand the value of the program and what we need from them. So thank you for the input. Got some things to work on.
Great. One of our partners refers to this as the stickiness factor, which is first it's about the bright shininess of the new stuff. So the new class, the new leader training, the new curriculum, that it's a very shiny bauble. And that then there's that factor, and then there's the stickiness factor, which is how well is it going to stick, and how well are these people going to stick, and are they going to be leaders that really embody the program and work with the curriculum and stay in fidelity and are available and all those kind of nice sticky things that make them really wonderful to work with. So I think there's many different moving parts.
Right.
Hey, any other thoughts from anyone? We have a whole 3 minutes left. Okay, well, our next meeting is going to be March. Can you believe it? Almost spring. And it will be a Thursday, and it is March 6th, I believe. I'm not looking at the calendar. March 6th. And it will be 9 to 10:30. We'll do it the same way. And if any of you want to send over samples of any of the marketing stuff that you're using, we can put it on the webinar and talk about it and share ideas. That would be a good way to add to our webinar experience. So if there's anything that you need more information on that we talked about today, just shoot me an email. And if there's anything that you want to see on the agenda, please let me know. And also action items is we will put the links in that we discussed, and we'll have a discussion offline or around the in-person meeting. Once we know a little bit more about funding and things, then Connie can let us know when to move ahead with some more of those discussions. So we'll do it before the meeting if possible, and if not, we'll do it in the March meeting. And I think that's all I've got. Anybody else have anything? Okay, then. I think we're done for this month. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.